A few years back, I relocated to a small city I'd never been to before. At first glance, everything felt perfectly ordinary. I settled into a modest yet charming little house on a quiet street. The neighbors kept to themselves, and while the atmosphere was distant, I didn't think much of it. As days passed, unsettling details started to surface. Whenever I stepped outside at night, the streets stretched out in complete silence, utterly deserted. It felt less like a neighborhood and more like a stage set, with glowing windows hiding motionless rooms behind them. Lights burned inside the houses, yet not a single shadow stirred. One night, just before drifting off to sleep, I glanced through the window. In an instant, every house around me went dark at the exact same moment. The street was swallowed by shadows, and an unnatural silence pressed down like a weight. A cold fear crept over me, the kind that's impossible to put into words. Just a few days after I moved in, there was a knock on my front door. I was still in the middle of unpacking, but I got up and answered it. The man standing there had black hair, was tall, middle-aged, with a patchy beard. He introduced himself as Todd, a neighbor from a few doors down. He wanted to say hello and welcome me to the neighborhood. I appreciated the gesture, reciprocated the friendliness, and we made small talk for a few minutes. He asked some basic get-to-know-you questions like why I moved, where I moved from, and if I had moved in with anyone. In the context of being a new neighbor, these didn't seem like intrusive questions at all. He mentioned that he lived with his wife, Sarah, and said he hoped I would enjoy the peace and quiet of the area. After our brief conversation, he left me to finish unpacking. Todd seemed like a good guy, just trying to be a decent neighbor. He was at least 20 or 30 years older than me, so I knew we wouldn't become close friends or anything, but it was nice to know there was a friendly person around. Over the next few days, I settled in, walking around the neighborhood and just getting used to the new area. It was hard not to notice how strangely empty it was outside. Whenever I looked around or went for a walk, I never saw any neighbors on their porches or in their yards. The whole town felt hollow and deserted, which made me feel out of place. To be honest, it was a bit disheartening, but one afternoon, around 4 p.m., Todd stopped by again. He wanted to let me know that he and his wife were having a get-together with some of the other neighbors for dinner at his place that night at 7:30. He said it would be a great opportunity for me to meet the other nice people in the area. I definitely wasn't expecting that invitation, given everything I had seen, or I guess hadn't seen. I thought everyone kept to themselves, but it seemed like this might be one of my only chances to meet people, so I accepted the offer. He said he was looking forward to seeing me there, and then he left. I was excited, but mostly nervous about meeting a group of people. I knew they would be nice to me, though. When 7:30 came, I got ready and started walking to his house. The whole neighborhood was dark and quiet, peaceful, but also a little strange, giving me that hollow feeling again, as if I were completely alone somehow. When I stepped up to Todd's place, it looked the same, inactive, with no cars or anything near his house. I still walked up to the door. It was already slightly ajar, but I knocked anyway. Todd immediately called out from inside, telling me to come in and make myself at home. His voice echoed through the halls, and it was really quiet. There was no other sound or even any movement. It wasn't at all what I was expecting for a whole neighborhood get-together. I took a few steps inside. The house was very dimly lit, making all the rooms dark and shadowy. I headed towards the kitchen, where I heard Todd's voice coming from, but when I got there, it was empty. He wasn't there. I called out his name, and then I called out his wife's name. Neither of them answered. And then I realized there was nothing in the kitchen either. No food on the table, and no signs of any preparation for a gathering. The realization started to dawn on me. There was no one else here. Then, all of a sudden, I heard the front door slam shut. It startled me, and I immediately called out Todd's name again, but was met only by the unsettling silence of his house. I walked to the end of the hallway, confirming that the front door was now closed. A sense of immediate danger washed over me. Up until that point, I had been creeped out, but now fear was seeping into me to a degree I had never felt before in my life. I hurriedly started heading for the front door, and as I did, I heard a few steps from somewhere in one of the rooms behind me. I didn't waste any time turning around to look. I rushed to the door. It was locked with 3 different locks, which told me this was definitely not some kind of accident. As I was undoing all the locks, Todd called out my name, asking where I was going. I could hear him getting closer behind me, his voice deepening and sounding less friendly with every word he spoke. I got the door open and ran back to my house. I debated calling the police, but eventually decided to do it, and let the officers figure out what his intentions were. I'm glad I did, because a few minutes after I got home, Todd showed up, knocking on my door and staring in through the windows. He was gone before the officers arrived, though, but things got even weirder from there. During the police inquiry, it turned out that Todd had never planned any gathering with other neighbors, and he didn't have a wife named Sarah or anyone living with him. He had been living there alone for over a decade. Basically, everything he had told me was a lie, just a made-up story to make me feel comfortable coming to his house. Unfortunately, nothing could really be done about it, because there was no way to prove he was trying to do anything bad. Everyone, including the police, knew it was all very strange to be completely innocent. But it didn't matter. There was nothing they could do. I moved away from there as soon as I possibly could. I would often check up on him, looking up his name and hoping he had been arrested or something, because, if not, I know it's only a matter of time before he lures another victim to his house. Whatever he planned, or planned to do to me, I hope he never gets to carry it out.